When you're getting into comm stuff, you hear about IP ratings and whether or not your radio has one or not. But what exactly are they? It's one of those things that's kind of just, people just mention what they are, but I don't know if it's ever really been discussed what that rating actually is. So in this video, we're going to get into it. I know I've already mentioned in a couple of videos in the past where I really harp on the importance of your equipment, especially your comms gear, being rugged and in turn having reliable components to make up your complete comm system. What I always look for in my research and decision in making is reputable brands that are time tested and widely used, and then also if they hold an IP rating. But it was then that brought me my attention that a lot of people don't understand or only have an extremely basic understanding of what exactly that IP rating actually means. So it's pretty obvious that the two most common threats to our electronic devices are water and dust. Well, in 1906, the International Electrotechnical Commission was founded to create and publish international standards for all electronic and related devices. So, electric and electronic equipment deteriorate in performance or even malfunction when water or dust enter into them. So one of the standards and tests and ratings the IE came up with are IP or ingress protection ratings to grade the resistance of an enclosure against the intrusion of dust or liquids. I hope just based on that description alone, you realize how important and practical this is to what we are basing our comms gear choices off of. So the code used to rate the degrees of protection offered by the enclosure of electrical equipment with a rated voltage of less than 72.5 kilovolts and the associated tests that have to be performed to ensure the enclosure meets these requirements is IP, again, ingress protection. After that code are always two numerals, and the first one indicates the level of the enclosure's protection against solid objects. This is the dust rating, but it also rates its protection from tools and body parts and is a rate on a scale from 0, having absolutely no protection, to 6, which, having 0 ingress of dust. Now, the reason you've probably never seen a rating of less than 5 when it comes to radios is because the first several, 0 through 5, don't apply to them. First, if your device holds a rating of 0, you probably aren't going to advertise that. And then beyond that, a 1 would indicate it's rated against any large surface of the body, such as the back of the hand, but no protection against deliberate contact with a body part. 2 regards, fingers and small objects. A 3 is in relation to tools, thick wires, and things like that. And a 4 pertains to most wires, slender screwdrivers, or even large ants. Yes, there's actually a rating for that. Again, all of which are not an issue when it comes to personal comms gear. The second numeral rates the enclosure's protection from blocking the internal components against various forms of moisture, such as sprays, drips, submersion, and liquids, and uses a scale from 0, again, having no protection, all the way up to a 9. And if you have a 9, that's being able to withstand high pressure, hot water from different angles. So if it holds a 1 rating, that means that dripping water falling vertically shall have no harmful effect on the item when mounted in an upright position on a turntable and rotated. And this is basically trying to simulate rainfall. A 2 rating is, again, a vertical drip test, but this time a device is tilted at a 15-degree angle, and this test is performed in 4 separate, positions of that 15-degree angle. Now, a 3 rating means that they test the device with water falling as a spray from any angle up to 60 degrees, and doing that shall have no harmful effect on the device. A 4 refers to testing it against splashing water, and here they are, rating this from splashing in any direction. So however it would hit the radio, can't have any harmful effect on it. A 5 rating refers to them having had tested the device using water projected by a nozzle against the device's enclosure from any direction, again, without having any harmful effects. A rating of 6 is done by using what they refer to as a powerful water jet and against the device's enclosure from any direction without having any harmful effects. A 7, and here's where we start getting, actually into submersing the device. And this one says that ingress of any water in a harmful quantity shall not be possible when the enclosure is immersed in water under defined conditions of pressure and time, which in this case is up to 1 meter of water. And with that, for just some clarification, for all of these ratings I mentioned before, these tests are standardized, and it's very specific criteria that have to be met before the rating is given. For an 8 rating, the device or equipment is rated as suitable for continuous immersion in water under conditions that are specified by the manufacturer. However, with certain types of equipment, it can mean that water can enter, but only such in a manner that it produces no harmful effects, and the test duration is expected to be greater than a 7 rating standard, and they can add other environmental effects such as temperature cycling before immersing it in water. And finally, the top to get what it needs to get to a 9 rating, and this one has to be protected against close range, high pressure, high temperature spray downs, and this one is done with the device rotating on a turntable as the jets hit it from 4 specific angles. And again, the distances and times and pressures used are standardized so that there's consistency to achieve an IP rating across all these different manufacturers. Now, one thing with these ratings, there's also an X rating that can exist. And if you see either of the letter designators replaced with an X, this means that there is no data available to specify a protection rating with regard to their criteria. Also with that, after the 2 numbers, there can also be a letter designator, and that can either be D, F, H, N, S, or W. So the D stands for wire, the F stands for oil resistant, the H stands for high voltage apparatus, the M is for device in motion, S is for a device standing still, and a W is for certain weather conditions. Now, if you're like, wait a second, that's a whole bunch more letters there than I've ever seen, and if you look hard enough, you can find them. So for example, this would be to say that if we had an IP55W rating on a radio, this would mean that the IP rating meets certain weather conditions like condensation, rain, or humidity. So if you had an IP55 rating, you obviously get limited protection from dust and low pressure water jets from any direction. But if you get an IP55W rating, now you are getting that same limited protection from dust, low pressure water, but now it's also been tested and rated for damp and wet weather. And just to give you another example real quick, if you had an IP23 rating versus an IP23S rating, the S, as I just said, means standing still. So an IP23 rating would be a more stringent certification than the IP23S, because the IP23 would indicate that it covers 23S as well as 23M, moving during those water tests. So long story short, which IP ratings are technically considered waterproof? Well, IP65, IP66, and 67 are considered waterproof, but the term waterproof is only applicable under those specified conditions. So your IP67 and IP68 devices are rated for complete submersion, but if your 67 devices are only rated for a depth of 1 meter for 30 minutes, and an IP68 enclosure is rated to be protected from immersion of at least 1 meter at a time of at least 20 minutes, but that could be extended by the manufacturer. So as you can see, no matter what, it's important to get a good IP rating on these radios if we're going to be operating in inclement weather. And actually, I'm going to do some videos about that more so coming up. But it's important to have these ratings to make sure whatever conditions you're operating in, your gear's not going to quit on you. So I hope you found this useful. If you learned anything, please like, subscribe, let me know in the comments. And with that, as always, be safe.